The boys. Boys, yeah, boy. Hey, what's up, comic book fans? I just wanted to welcome you to a very special lo-fi edition of the comic book Hangover. I either have enough time to do a fancy video and not see Zombieland, or make this video and see Zombieland. So I think you'll understand this week if the production value isn't quite as good as it was last week. I'm going to get started with The Boys, issue number 35. This issue we get the origin story for the character Mother's Milk. And as it turns out, his name pretty much tells you the basics of that origin story. I won't spoil or anything because the issue is just too good to ruin for everybody. I was a little bit worried when I got this issue and I flipped through it because I've been dying to know what this guy's origin story is. And I saw lots of speech bubbles all over the place. And if you're a Garth Ennis fan, or you followed any of his books like Preacher had a couple of issues that were just, you felt like you were reading a novel. And they wouldn't show you things, the characters would just run past events in speech bubbles. And it was just such a chore to read. So every now and then Garth Ennis just blah, 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 blah. Would you shut the fuck up already, Garth Ennis? But anyway, I thought this was going to be that kind of issue. Turns out it isn't. It's good stuff. There's some really, really heartbreaking moments in it with Mother's Milk's family, and you discover the origin of his powers and even some of the weird things that he has to do to keep those powers going. Overall, the issue is unsettling. It's oddly beautiful, the storyline, and it's just more boys' goodness from Garth Ennis. Next up, we have Deadpool, issue 16. A couple weeks ago, I threw Deadpool issue number 15 over my back. I wanted to light it on fire. I wanted to cut it up. I wanted to do lots of awful things to it because it just wasn't funny. And a Deadpool story that isn't funny is completely useless. But with this issue, all I can say is that Daniel Way got his mojo back. This issue is freaking hilarious. If you like the X-Men, you should pick this up because the X-Men are kind of like the straight characters to Deadpool's comedy in this issue, and it involves a lot of pancakes. Domino and a lot of pancakes. It's awesome. Check it out. More Garth Ennis goodness this week. Crossed, issue 7. Now, I can't say enough about Crossed. This is one of my favorite books right now. There's tons of zombie books out right now. What is it that makes Crossed different from other zombie comics, if you can even call it a zombie comic? Well, basically, the storyline in Crossed is that, well, let me put it this way. If you could imagine a serial killer, you imagine someone who has absolutely no morals, who kills people and does every imaginable awful thing to people. Now imagine if that mental illness was a biological illness that was caused by blood-to-blood contact, and that illness was spreading throughout America. So anytime someone came in contact with one of these zombies, they turn into a psychotic, disgusting, demented serial killer. Now that's the kind of zombies that the characters in Crossed are up against now. So we've been following this band of survivors, and I really feel connected to these characters emotionally. I really care about what happens to them, and I can really tell them all apart in a comic book that's important. And, you know, it doesn't look good for them. And this issue really had some heart-wrenching, terrible, but beautiful moments. Really, every issue of Crossed has something unique about it. Even when there's no cross to zombies in that particular issue, there's something unique about the storyline. You really should be reading it. Check it out. Don't let the covers fool you. The covers to Crossed have been pretty much awful. They make it look like it's just a nasty slasher comic, but it's really so much more than that. War Heroes, number 3 of 6, Mark Millar. Now, the main problem with War Heroes is, when did the last issue of this comic come out? I actually thought it got canceled. It's been so long. And that's really, I guess, the problem with anything that Mark Millar does, is that, it's just like Kick-Ass. You get into a storyline, and the next issue comes out like 5 months later, and then you have to go back and read all of the other comics just to catch up to where you were. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up the rest of War Heroes. It's definitely it's an awesome original comic. The basic idea behind it is, humanity develops a way to give people superpowers through drugs. And of course, those drugs are very expensive, and they're only in the hands of the military. So now the U.S. military has superpowered soldiers. However, exactly what you would expect to happen with any weapon happens, and those weapons get into the hands of the enemy. So in this issue, the enemy is terrorists. It's Al-Qaeda. And so now you've got superpowered Al-Qaeda terrorists. It sounds like a crazy idea, but in a world where you actually had people taking drugs to become superheroes, that's exactly what would happen. It's a terrifying idea. It's original. It's awesome. It's Mark Millar. But you might want to wait until it's collected, because who knows how long until the next issue. I've got to get going so I can go get to Zombieland in time. So I guess that's going to be all for this week's Comic Book Hangover, the special lo-fi edition. Mike from DestroyTheSybe.org is also doing video reviews now. So you should check him out on DestroyTheSybe.org or on his YouTube channel, Destroy the Sybe, I think it is. Or is it Destroy the... whatever. I'll put a link. So definitely check him out so you can see some of the talking heads that we've got going on DestroyTheSybe.org. If you've never heard of that site, you should check it out. It's an awesome comic book blog, and just lots of really good comic book reviews, and I read it all the time. And your mom likes it, and sometimes, after like me and your mom get done, we will, pull up the laptop, and I'll be like, go make me a sandwich. See you next week.